Hi, it's Dr Ro and Colin back again on the next element of renovating properties. We've talked about the external works, Col, which was great. And sorry about the noise in the background, but they're working on some stuff here. Let's talk about internal works, because that is another key element of the process, isn't it?
That's right. So once the external outside walls are constructed, we can then really concentrate on the internal works as well. And
remember, we're talking about two types of renovation here. We'll cover it during the course of the video. There's those that are more major, which is like this project, and there are those that are minor type renovations. So if we can address the two. So when he talked about the external, that is on a larger project as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So on a minor project, you're mainly going to be internally anyway.
True,
so you're going to be doing your redecoration, your strip out, and then you're renewing the bathroom or the kitchen.
So let's back up there, because Colin's just talked, because he's done literally tens and tens and tens and tens of these. You just talked about several elements there. So the strip out, let's just cover the strip out. What's the strip out?
So the strip out is everything that you don't need comes straight out of the property and then gets thrown away, essentially. So things like your bathroom suites and your bathroom tiles, everything out of the bathroom, the kitchen if that's being replaced, carpets, wall finishes, covings, plasterboard, everything like that needs to come out if that's not what you're
A lot of people think it takes a long time, but it can be done very quickly.
Yeah, the strip out can be very, very quick if you've got a good team on there.
Yeah, and it's probably the lowest cost labour, I'm guessing.
Labour-wise, yes, but you have your cart away cost.
Right, true.
So the waste, the biggest cost actually in construction, one of the biggest things is actually waste away. It's actually the disposal. Skips aren't cheap, they're £250, £300 plus VAT.
Yeah.
You've got all of these extra costs that do go into just getting rid of the stuff.
Yeah, don't underestimate that, by the way. It depends on the site you've got and whether you can dispose of it on the site you're at, but most of the time you can't do that. So the strip out has to happen. What else is going on internally on a basic renovation that they've got to consider?
It's preparing,
if bathrooms and stuff are old, they need to go out.
They need to go out.
Trying to get back to a shell.
Yeah, and checking the existing pipework and services. Is the electrics up to scratch? Is the pipework up to scratch? You might look at the fuse board and it might be dated, that might need renewing. If that needs renewing, you might need new cabling, because it might be old cabling. Pipework as well, that needs to be tested. We've got a lot of new fittings that are coming to the market now, and how they work is different to how old systems work.
Well, we could almost demonstrate to some extent sort of a stripping out process that's gone on here. Do you want to just talk us through what? So this would have been a...
That's right. So this was an existing bedroom. We've started running cables here, but we've stripped all of this back, and we've put in a new structure on the ceiling level to create the balcony above. So in here we've got a couple of different elements. We've got the strip out, then we've got our structure, we've got our external walls, and then we've got our roof going on at the top to create a balcony.
I'm going to hoik Cole just to... Let's go back to the electrics box quickly. You talked about that. We can just probably show them. So it's important to just see the different components here. We're coming through... I mean, you can see all the stripping out. All of this is a sunken bath that was in here before. These are all components that we had to discuss prior to actually the work starting. But you talked about the electrics box here. Just talk us through this, Cole. So this is kind of... It's a mix. This has got a mixture of new and old, hasn't it?
This here is the existing electrical board in this property, and it's quite dated. It's got some old cabling in there.
Three-phase as well.
And it's got three-phase coming in, which is very good for the property.
Yeah.
We just now need to renew it so that it actually meets the standards that we need to be included here for the new systems that are going to be installed. So we've taken everything back, we've taken all of the old wiring out, and now we're renewing with new cabling and new fuse board. Right,
so this is stuff that's happening quite early on. Right, let's go back into that other room, Cole. So in the process of the internal works, what Colin's explaining is on a basic renovation, it might just be stripping out and redecorating. But here there's some structural elements. Explain, if I pull the camera back out so you can all see what's going on here. Hopefully you can. Talk to us, Col, what's going on here?
Okay, so in this room we extended from this area here out. So we've created more space for the bedroom. By doing that, we've got the foundations in the external walls up and the opening for the window. Now above that we've got a new balcony to the bedroom above, so we've got our roof structure coming in, and above the door you have your structure which acts as your lintel here, and then you've got your roof joists which create the support for your roof above, which is the balcony, and then here we have a timber support coming all the way along to support the existing structure
and that
above.
Sits in with the existing structure here, so existing here, new there.
And then beyond that, we'll be insulating and then creating a roof finish on the top to make it watertight.
So all of this is taken on fairly quickly, isn't it? Because you talked about the foundation. So early on in the previous video, you heard Colin talk about external works. That would all have been dug out. The foundations would have been put in place, the concrete, and then up to the damp course level, and then up out of the ground. Had we not put that in place early, then there would have been a delay, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, any project, what you want to do is you want to get as watertight as possible as soon as possible.
Right.
Because then you're inside. Even if we have insulation or external render going on the outside, that can be separated, because once you're watertight, you can work inside.
Nice. Okay. So let's stay on the theme of internals. Is there anything else they need to be looking for internally? I'm thinking, okay, so my thoughts are things like asbestos, which was an issue on this property.
That's right. You always have to be...
You can't just lop it off, can you?
No, if you have any worries about asbestos, just please get a professional. Do not try to remove anything yourself. There are low grades and there are medium grades and there are high grades. Just get a professional in to come and clear it. That's exactly what we did here.
Yeah.
And
before the work started.
Before the work started,
2
and
weeks
it's a safe
before,
site, and it has to be tested as well. So if you're on site and suddenly find asbestos, that can cause delays, and actually that can prevent the site from being used and actually close the site.
And on that note, they actually opened up what was a hidden flue, I think it was.
That's right.
While on site here, I got photographs sent to me, and basically Colin had an asbestos team come in, do samples. It came back negative, didn't it?
Which was great.
Yeah.
And otherwise that didn't hold anything up, and then we can move on and basically carry on.
So there's another one to consider internally. What other things should we be looking at internally? I mean, I guess as we're in the house as well, it's layout. It's considering the layout.
Layout, space, how things are going to be set out in the rooms is really important, even at the early stage, because you have your first fix electrics going on. You need to know that what furniture is going to be going in there to allow for the locations of them to go in. Floor to ceiling heights. This room here has a slight change in level because of the balcony above.
If you point to it, Cole, so we can see.
So we have the existing level here. The existing timber joists are actually not very thick. So it's a thin floor structure. Now, as we bring that out to the new, we have the balcony. That affects our new structure because the new structure needs to accommodate for the decking finish above, so that has to drop down slightly. Now, we still have a very generous floor to ceiling height here, but that could have brought the levels down so far that actually it would have felt very uncomfortable.
Okay. So again, and I mean, if you're looking at this from a HMO perspective, square meterage is essential. So can you eke out a little bit more square meterage? Can a chimney stack come out from the inside, which might win you back a little point something of a square meter? Bearing in mind, I think at the time of recording this, a single room is 6.51 square meters. Correct. So if you're 6.49, for example, it won't pass. Literally, they're very strict now, aren't they?
Yeah, they measure everything.
So I think anything like that, take into consideration early. You shouldn't be having a conversation 2 months in going, oh God, why didn't we spot that before?
That can cause a big issue for the HMO officer, because your HMO might go from 5 rooms down to 4 rooms, which then affects the value and the income. And
we had that, I think a year or two ago, property, you were with me when we found it actually. The valuer mismeasured the room size, and then we had a bit of an issue with the revaluation. We knew he did it to the right size, but the valuer mismeasured it. So these are tiny things to consider early on. How can I eke some more space out? The layout, the livability of the property after it's finished. Do it now whilst you're in the property. Anything else at this stage we need to consider before we go to the next element?
For this particular project, we're putting underfloor heating in. So
good point,
you have your floor levels coming up. So all of our seals and everything, all of our openings are allowed for that. That doesn't affect basic buy-to-lets necessarily, unless you are going to install something like underfloor heating, but sometimes the cost of that doesn't warrant what you're going to be expecting to get as a return.
No, but I think you're right. I mean, heating generally, radiators, think about the placement of the radiators. I've seen people trying to add extra windows in and then afterwards going, oh, where am I going to stick the radiators in this room? So I think tiny things like that add up. And in the process of renovation, remember, yes, you want to get it finished quickly, but actually that planning speeds things up. That extra time spent at the beginning planning will speed it up through the whole process as well. Right, so Colin, we've done external, we've done internal. Shall we take them on to the next element?
Great stuff.
All right, see you on the next video.